In the quiet little village of Kibula, everyone believed Mama Zina was the kindest woman around. She always smiled, greeted neighbors warmly, and even shared food during village gatherings. People often said, "Nia is lucky to have such a caring stepmother." But behind that warm smile was a secret that only Nia knew. When Nia's real mother died, she was just a small girl. Mama Zina stepped in and raised her, but not with love. Inside their home, the sweet stepmother turned into something else entirely. Nia wasn't treated like a daughter. She cooked, cleaned, fetched water, and did all the chores, while Zina's own daughter Taju rested and played. If Nia made a mistake, even a small one, she was shouted at or sometimes left without food. No one outside their home ever saw this side of Mama Zina. Nia never complained. She smiled when others were around, just like Mama Zina had taught her. But inside, her heart was heavy. She missed her real mother's hugs, her soft voice, her protection. Every night, Nia would curl up on her mat and whisper to the stars, "Mama, are you watching? Do you see what's happening to me?" She wished someone, anyone, could see the truth. But Mama Zina wore her mask too well. It was the mask behind the smile that hid all the pain, the loneliness, and the silent tears of a girl who just wanted to be loved like a real daughter. As the years passed, Nia grew into a young woman whose beauty turned heads. But it wasn't just her face that drew people in. It was her kind heart, her gentle voice, the way she helped elders and smiled at children. Everyone in the village of Kibula admired her. Even the village boys, some from faraway towns, began showing up at their doorstep, hoping to win Nia's heart. But not a single one came for Taju, Mama Zina's real daughter. Taju, though raised in comfort and love, never had the same grace or warmth as Nia. And each time a suitor asked for Nia, Mama Zina's heart darkened with jealousy. She would smile politely, but deep inside, it felt like knives twisting in her chest. Why Nia? She'd think. Why not my own daughter? She tried everything, dressing Taju in finer clothes, praising her loudly, even lying about Nia's flaws. But none of it worked. The more people saw Nia, the more they loved her, and that love, instead of softening Mama Zina, made her crueler inside. At night, she sat alone by the fire, eyes burning, whispering to herself. She stole everything, the attention, the love, even the future that should belong to Taju. Her jealousy became a storm in her chest, twisting her thoughts into something dangerous. That's when the idea came. If Nia disappears, Mama Zina thought, no one will ask for her again. Then they'll see Taju. Then everything will go back to how it should be. She began to plan, slowly, quietly, like a snake waiting in the grass. And all the while, Nia remained kind, unaware of the storm building behind her stepmother's smile. It wasn't just envy anymore. It was hate, the kind that doesn't shout, but whispers, plots, and waits for the perfect moment to strike. One quiet morning, Mama Zina called Nia with a soft voice, pretending to be kind. "My daughter," she said, "you're becoming a woman now. It's time we prayed for your future." Nia was surprised. Mama Zina rarely spoke to her like this, but her heart leapt with hope. Maybe, just maybe, her stepmother was finally accepting her. "We'll go to Ndimu Forest," Zina continued. "It's where powerful prayers are heard." Nia had heard stories about that forest, whispers of strange creatures, thick mists and spirits older than time. People said no one went too deep into it, but Nia didn't question. If Mama Zina wanted to go, she would follow. They walked for hours. The trees grew taller and thicker. The birds stopped singing. Even the wind felt heavy. Nia's hands trembled, but Mama Zina held her chin high. "Almost there," she said, her voice oddly calm. Finally, they reached a clearing. In the middle was a large pit, dark and deep, with movement inside. Nia peered over the edge. Snakes, dozens of them, hissing, writhing, their scales shining in the dim light. Her breath caught. Then, without warning, Mama Zina's hands shoved her hard. Nia screamed as she tumbled down into the pit. Pain shot through her body as she landed, but the fear was louder than the pain. She looked up, hoping, praying, that this was some mistake, but what she saw broke her heart. Mama Zina was smiling, a cold, satisfied smile. "No one will choose you now," she said softly, and turned away. Nia's screams echoed through the forest, but no one heard. Only the snakes moved, their tongues flicking, slowly slithering toward her. She lay there shaking, surrounded by danger, betrayed by the only mother she had left. The forest stayed silent, like it had swallowed her whole. And above, Mama Zina walked calmly back through the trees, her heart light, believing the girl she hated was gone forever. Nia's heart pounded like thunder as she lay at the bottom of the dark pit. The snakes moved all around her, their bodies sliding over the rough stones, their eyes shining like tiny stars in the gloom. She screamed for help, her voice breaking in fear, but the only reply was the soft hiss of the snakes. She expected sharp fangs to bite her, venom to burn her skin, but nothing came. Instead, something strange happened. The snakes began to coil around her arms and legs, but their touch was gentle, almost like a soft, warm hug. Nia froze, confusion mixing with her fear. How could these dangerous creatures be so calm? Slowly, trembling, she reached out and touched one of the snakes. Her fingers brushed its smooth scales, and suddenly it shimmered in her hand, colors swirling like liquid light. Her breath caught. These were no ordinary snakes. They were different, magical, ancient, and wise. As she touched another snake, she felt a strange calm wash over her. Her heart, which had been racing with panic, slowed down. The snakes didn't want to hurt her. They were protecting her. Nia's fear turned to wonder. She closed her eyes and let herself drift into a strange trance. She felt connected to the snakes, like they were speaking to her in a silent language. She could almost hear whispers, soft, powerful, full of secrets lost to the world. The snakes wrapped around her gently, as if guarding her from the darkness, the pain, and the betrayal she had suffered. They were not her enemies. They were her guardians. In that moment, Nia understood something deep inside. This pit was not her grave. It was a place of power. The forest, the snakes, the spirits. They had chosen her, and she was no longer just a scared girl trapped in darkness. She was becoming something new, something strong, something unstoppable. 3 days passed in the village of Kibula. Everyone thought Nia was gone forever, lost to the darkness of the snake pit. The festival went on as planned, a time to celebrate the harvest and give thanks to the spirits. The village square was full of people laughing, dancing, and sharing stories. But suddenly, everything changed. From the edge of the forest came a soft rustling. The crowd stopped talking. Eyes turned toward the trees, where a figure slowly appeared. At first, it was hard to believe. The figure moved with a quiet power, glowing softly like a light in the dark. Then everyone saw her clearly. It was Nia. She looked different, stronger, brighter. Her skin seemed to shine, and resting calmly on her shoulders were several snakes. The snakes didn't scare her. They moved gently, like friends. The villagers gasped, stepping back in shock and fear. "Is it a spirit?" someone whispered. "Is she alive?" asked another. Some screamed in terror, but others stood frozen in awe. No one could explain what they were seeing. The girl they thought had died was here, alive, glowing, and surrounded by the very creatures that should have ended her life. Nia's eyes scanned the crowd. She wasn't afraid anymore. The pain, the loneliness, the hurt, they were gone, replaced by a strange new power. The snakes hissed softly, as if telling the villagers that she was protected. Slowly, Nia raised her hand and spoke in a voice calm and clear. It was different, almost like the wind itself was speaking through her. The crowd listened, mesmerized. They felt something ancient and powerful in her words, a connection to the earth, to the forest, and to the spirits beyond. That day, the people of Kibula realized something important. Nia was no longer just a girl. She was something more, someone chosen, someone powerful. And from that moment, their lives would never be the same again. After coming out of the snake pit, Nia was not the same girl the village once knew. The forest spirits had touched her, giving her powers that seemed like magic to everyone. Her skin glowed softly under the sun, and her eyes held a calm strength that made people feel safe. It was clear something had changed deep inside her. Nia discovered she could heal wounds with a simple touch. When a child fell and scraped a knee, she gently placed her hand over the cut, and the pain vanished as the skin mended before their eyes. The villagers began to bring their sick and hurt to her, hoping for her healing hands. She never refused, always helping with kindness and patience. But her gifts didn't stop there. Nia found she could talk to animals. Birds would land on her fingers, and even wild creatures approached her without fear. She could call the animals to her side, and they obeyed like old friends. The village dogs, cats, and even the shy forest deer seemed to understand her, and in return, they protected the village from danger. Most surprising of all was Nia's ability to speak ancient languages, the forgotten tongues of the forest spirits and the ancestors. When she spoke, the words were soft and musical, full of power. Elders listened closely, amazed as she told stories and secrets that had been lost for generations. The chief of Kibula, a wise and respected man, saw the change in Nia. He gathered the village and announced, "Nia is no ordinary girl. She is Mwana wa Mshale, the girl of the arrow. Just like an arrow flies straight and true to protect and defend, she has been sent by the spirits to guard our people." From that day on, Nia was no longer just a stepdaughter or a girl in the village. She was a protector, a healer, and a bridge between the people and the spirit world. The villagers looked to her with respect and hope, knowing that as long as she was with them, they were safe. Nia understood her new role. She wasn't just living for herself anymore. She carried the strength of the forest and the love of her people in her heart, ready to face whatever challenges came their way. The truth could not stay hidden forever. Whispers began to spread through Kibula, questions about what really happened to Nia. Some villagers felt uneasy about Mama Zina's cold smile and the strange way she avoided talking about Nia's disappearance. Slowly, the truth started to come out. One day, during a gathering of the village elders, Nia stood tall and spoke with a voice clear and strong. "Mama Zina pushed me into the snake pit," she said, her eyes steady. The crowd gasped. For a moment, no one moved. Then the snakes resting on Nia's shoulders stirred. One of them slid down quietly and without fear slithered toward Mama Zina. The snake wrapped itself around Mama Zina's neck, firm but not hurting her. Mama Zina's face went pale. She tried to pull the snake away, but it held on, as if the forest itself was demanding justice. "It's true," Nia said softly. "She wanted to end me because of jealousy." Mama Zina's proud mask cracked. She fell silent, unable to deny what everyone now saw with their own eyes. The elders whispered among themselves, their faces serious. They remembered the ancient laws. Those who bring harm to others through dark betrayal must face the consequences. Finally, the chief stood and declared, "Mama Zina's actions have brought danger to our village and broken the trust of our people. She must be punished and sent away to the very place she condemned Nia." The villagers watched as Mama Zina was led back to the snake pit. Fear and regret filled her eyes, but no one offered sympathy. The snake around her neck tightened slightly, as if the forest spirits were reminding her of her crime. Mama Zina was exiled to the pit, alone and powerless, just as she had tried to make Nia. The village felt a heavy silence afterward, a mix of relief and sorrow. Justice had been served, but the pain of betrayal lingered. Nia stood quietly, the snakes coiling gently on her shoulders. She did not celebrate. Instead, she looked to the future, knowing that healing would take time, not just for her but for the whole village. But one thing was clear. Mama Zina's cruelty would no longer hurt anyone. The village was safe again. After Mama Zina was sent away, life in Kibula slowly began to change. But Nia didn't want revenge. She had been through so much pain and betrayal, and now she carried a new strength, one built on forgiveness and love, not anger. Instead of holding on to hate, she chose a different path. Near the edge of the forest, close to the snake pit, where she had faced her greatest trial, Nia built a small shrine. It was a place of peace and power, a symbol of the bond between her and the forest spirits who had saved her. Villagers came to the shrine to pray, to heal and to find hope. Nia used her gifts to help everyone, healing the sick, comforting the lonely, and teaching the children about respect and courage. Her heart was full, but it was not always easy. Taju, her stepsister, had watched everything happen from the shadows. For a long time, she stayed away, feeling guilty and unsure. But one day, Taju found the courage to come to Nia. Her eyes were filled with tears as she said, "Please, forgive me. I was silent when I should have spoken. I want to be your sister, not your enemy." Nia looked at her carefully. The pain between them was real, but so was the chance for something better. She smiled gently and said, "I forgive you, Taju. We cannot change the past, but we can choose how we live now." From that moment on, Taju and Nia began to heal their broken bond. They were not just stepsisters anymore. They were sisters in heart, walking together toward a future filled with kindness and strength. Nia did not forget the past, but she refused to let it control her. Her power was no longer about punishment. It was about protection, healing, and hope. The villagers saw the change in her and were inspired. Nia had risen from pain and betrayal to become a true leader, not just by blood, but by the love she showed. And in the heart of Kibula, the shrine stood as a reminder that even the deepest wounds could be healed when forgiveness leads the way. Far away in the mountains, a young prince named Jabari heard the story of Nia, the girl who survived the snake pit and returned stronger than ever. People told him how she healed the sick, spoke to animals, and protected her village with the power of the forest spirits. Curious and moved, Jabari decided to see her for himself. When he arrived in Kibula, he found more than he expected. Nia was beautiful, yes, but it was her strength and kindness that captured his heart. She stood tall and calm, with a quiet power that made everyone around her feel safe. Jabari admired her courage, her forgiveness, and the way she carried herself with grace despite everything she had been through. They spent days talking, sharing stories, and learning from each other. Jabari saw that Nia was more than a leader. She was a symbol of hope for her people and beyond. He knew he wanted to stand by her side. The news of their engagement spread quickly, and soon the whole village was preparing for a wedding unlike any other. It wasn't just a celebration of love. It was a union of two tribes, two communities, brought together by respect and trust. On the day of the wedding, the air buzzed with excitement. The procession was led by the snakes, the very creatures that had protected Nia in her darkest hour. They slithered gracefully ahead, guiding the way like ancient guardians. Villagers from both tribes followed, dressed in colorful clothes, singing songs of joy and hope. Nia walked down the path, her glowing skin shimmering in the sunlight, her eyes shining with happiness. Jabari waited for her with a proud smile, knowing that together they would bring peace and strength to their people. As they joined hands, the village cheered loudly. The wedding was more than a promise between two people. It was a celebration of courage, forgiveness, and the power of new beginnings. From that day forward, Nia and Jabari ruled not just with power, but with love. And the snakes, forever loyal, stayed by their side, reminding everyone that true strength comes from the heart. Nia's story became a legend in Kibula, told again and again by children who gathered around fires at night. They whispered about the girl who was thrown into the snake pit to die, but came out glowing with power, protected by the forest spirits. She wasn't just a leader, she was something more, a spirit guide who watched over the village with kindness and strength. Nia didn't wear a crown or sit on a throne. Instead, she walked among her people, healing the sick, teaching the young, and speaking with the wisdom of the ancient spirits. Her presence was a comfort, a reminder that even when life feels dark and full of pain, there is a light waiting to shine through. Only Nia knew the true meaning of her journey, the pain she endured, the betrayal she faced. It all shaped her. It was like a hidden shield, protecting her in ways no one else could see. What seemed like suffering was actually strength in disguise. She often stood near the shrine by the snake pit, feeling the quiet power of the forest around her. The snakes, her silent guardians, were always near, reminding her of the promise she made to protect her people. Nia's story taught everyone in Kibula that pain doesn't have to break you. Sometimes it makes you stronger, braver, and ready to lead. The girl who was once pushed to the edge rose not just to survive, but to rule the hearts and spirits of her village. And in that quiet power, she found her true place, a leader not by blood or force, but by the love and courage she carried inside.